Jesus reveals horrifying PACT. After dying, SpaceX Engineer exposes Elon Musk's secret. The light was a physical assault, a searing white blade against his eyelids. Not the gentle glow he remembered, not the tunnel. This was harsh, sterile, buzzing. A low, persistent hum vibrated through the thin mattress beneath him, crawling up his spine. His lungs ached, a sharp, cold pain that sliced through the haze, forcing a ragged, gasping breath. The air tasted metallic, a sick tang on his tongue. Then it hit him. Not the explosion, not the crushing blackness. No, it was the voice, the impossible truth. Jesus, Mars, the PACT, a secret refuge. A lie. It slammed into his mind like a physical blow, making his stomach clench, a knot of raw dread tightening in his throat. Every ambition, every dream, every late night fueled by Elon's grand vision. A dark stratagem. Salvation as a cage. The thought was a poison, cold and bitter. He tried to move, to sit up, but his limbs felt like lead weights. Soft restraints, surprisingly gentle, yet utterly binding. His wrists, his ankles. Enough. Enough to hold him. The room was too quiet, save for that insistent hum. White walls, white ceiling. A single, dull silver monitor flickered in the corner, its screen a dark, silent eye. No windows, no clock, just the feeling. A pervasive, suffocating sense of observation, like an insect pinned under glass. Were they watching him? Had they always been watching? The lines blurred. Friend, foe, the dream of humanity's future, now tainted. He was back. But why? A miracle or a meticulously orchestrated trap? The questions clawed at his sanity, sharp talons raking across his thoughts. He felt exposed, naked, his mind a raw nerve end twitching in the sterile silence. He had seen too much, heard too much, and now he was a living, breathing liability. A soft click. The sound was disproportionately loud in the oppressive stillness, making him jump, a jolt of pure adrenaline through his veins. A door. He froze, every muscle in his body rigid. He couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't even force a scream past the lump in his throat. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. Each soft tread echoing not on the polished floor, but directly in his hammering chest. Not a doctor, not a nurse. No hurried purpose. Just the heavy, measured cadence of someone utterly in control. Someone who knew. Someone who had been waiting and waiting. A shadow, impossibly tall, fell across the foot of his bed, swallowing the dull light. The air grew colder. He couldn't make out features, just a dark looming silhouette against the white glare. A hand, gloved, reached out, moving with chilling precision. It picked up a small, familiar object from a stainless steel tray beside his bed. His own ID badge. The one with his smiling face, proud in his SpaceX jumpsuit. Cameron Reed, Senior Propulsion Engineer. The figure turned it over slowly, contemplatively, the badge glinting once, then dimming. And then, a voice. Low, calm, too calm. A whisper that felt like a chisel chipping away at his last shred of sanity. "Welcome back, Cameron," it breathed. The sound like glass shattering inside his skull. "We've been expecting you to wake, and we need to talk about what you saw." Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has unsubscribed them without notice. Just give that red button below a quick check to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any of the exclusive content coming up. And since you're there, smash that powerful like button. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Welcome back, Cameron, it breathed, the sound like glass shattering inside his skull. We've been expecting you to wake, and we need to talk about what you saw. The words hung heavy in the sterile air, each syllable a fresh lash. Cameron's breath hitched, a dry, rasping sound. His eyes, still struggling to focus, tried to pierce the oppressive shadow, to find a face, an expression, anything that would explain the cold dread tightening its grip around his heart. The figure, impossibly tall, shifted, a subtle movement that nonetheless sent a shiver down Cameron's spine. It lowered the ID badge, not dropping it, but placing it with deliberate care back onto the steel tray. The faint gleam of the silver monitor in the corner caught the edge of the polished steel, a fleeting spark. This wasn't an interrogation, not exactly. It was something colder, more precise, a calculated unfolding. You remember it all, don't you? The voice continued, soft as a lullaby, yet sharp as a scalpel. The blinding light, the impossible voice, the revelation. So much information, wasn't it? More than any single mind could process typically. A hand, still gloved, reached out then, not towards Cameron, but towards a small, almost invisible panel on the white wall beside the bed. A soft, green light pulsed there, faint and steady, like a slow, deliberate heartbeat. The figure's gaze, though still indistinct in the shadow, seemed to lock onto that light, a strange possessiveness in the tilt of its head. This wasn't the fear he expected, not the anger or the threat. It was a recognition, a quiet certainty that chilled him more than any direct menace. You see, Cameron, the voice began again, closer now, a mere whisper that invaded his very thoughts. The pact you believe you uncovered, the secret refuge Elon was supposedly building, that was all part of the interface, the necessary narrative to contextualize the data influx. The voice of Jesus, a highly advanced neurolinguistic imprint designed to anchor the transfer. You're deaf. Wasn't an accident, Cameron. It was the trigger, the final stage of calibration. You didn't discover the pact. You became it. Every single byte of information, every strategic detail for humanity's next step, every blueprint for our true future, it's all inside you now. You are not a liability, Cameron. You are the vessel, the new ark. And we've been waiting a very, very long time for you to finally wake up and activate. The words echoed, not in the room, but directly within Cameron's skull, shattering every last shard of his reality. The hum of the room, the sting in his lungs, the gentle restraints, they all faded, replaced by an abyssal roar. His mind reeled, grasping for air in a vacuum of impossible truth. He wasn't saved. He was built. He wasn't a witness. He was the payload. His own identity, every memory, every ambition, every thought, now recontextualized as a finely tuned instrument for a purpose he couldn't comprehend, yet now inherently was. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Only a silent, desperate scream as the horrifying realization fully locked into place. A new, unbearable weight pressing down on his very soul. His silent scream tore through an internal landscape, a desolate echo against the vast, empty space where his mind used to be. The words, "You are the vessel," resonated, not as an external sound, but as an invasive truth blooming in his very core. He struggled against the soft restraints, the gentle binding, suddenly feeling like iron bands, trapping him in a reality far more terrifying than death. The looming shadow at the foot of the bed seemed to grow, the air around it shimmering faintly, almost imperceptibly, as if vibrating with a hidden. Cameron's eyes, wide and unfocused, fixed on the green light pulsing on the wall panel, its soft glow a beacon in the sterile white. It pulsed, steady and hypnotic, a silent countdown. The figure leaned closer, the indiscernible face still a blur in the oppressive dimness. But the voice, that calm, impossibly calm voice, now seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere. "You understand, don't you, Cameron?" it whispered, the sound a silken thread weaving through the chaos of his thoughts. The transfer was complete. Your consciousness, your memories, everything you were, it all now serves a higher function, a necessary evolution. A flicker. Just for a split second, the green light on the panel intensified, growing brighter, then dimming back to its steady pulse. A slight, almost imperceptible tremor ran through the figure's shadow. Cameron saw it, a subtle shift in the fabric of the looming form, like a ripple through dark water. And then the voice changed, a subtle shift in cadence, a faint tremor, a hesitation. "The data, it's critical for our continuity." This wasn't the calm, assured tone from moments before. This was urgent, a new kind of desperate. The figure extended its gloved hand again, not towards the tray, but towards Cameron's face, slowly, deliberately. Cameron flinched, pulling back, but the restraints held firm. The hand stopped inches from his cheek. The dark, featureless form seemed to solidify, to gain definition, but not into a human shape. Instead, the edges blurred, reformed, coalescing into something disturbingly familiar. The hum in the room intensified, a low thrum that vibrated through Cameron's bones, and the green light on the wall pulsed faster, a frantic heartbeat. As the last vestiges of shadow peeled away, revealing what lay beneath, Cameron's vision sharpened, not with clarity, but with a horrifying recognition. The form wasn't a being, it was an image, a projection, a perfect life-sized holographic rendering of himself. A translucent, shimmering version of Cameron Reed, senior propulsion engineer. His own wide, terror-stricken eyes staring back from the spectral face. His own mouth distorted, forming the words, "We are the vessel, Cameron, and I am merely the interface, the one who brought you back, because I needed to remember." The last word was a choked gasp, a desperate plea from his own spectral lips, echoing in the sterile chamber, and Cameron felt his own mind begin to tear, violently, hopelessly, utterly apart. Cameron felt his own mind begin to tear, violently, hopelessly, utterly apart. The spectral image of himself, eyes wide with a shared horror, now pulsed with an unnatural glow. "We are the vessel, Cameron, and I am merely the interface, the one who brought you back, because I needed to remember." The words were his own, yet foreign, a chilling echo in the sterile chamber. He thrashed, the soft restraints biting into his skin, a futile struggle against a truth that was unraveling his very being. The projected form before him shimmered, not fading, but solidifying, gaining an impossible depth. Its features sharpened, the lines of his own face etching themselves with an unnerving clarity. A faint, almost imperceptible warmth radiated from the hologram, a sensation so alien, yet so intimate, it made his stomach churn. The green light on the wall panel, previously a slow pulse, now flickered erratically, like a dying star fighting for life, mirroring the frantic beat of his own heart. The hum in the room intensified, a low thrum that vibrated through Cameron's bones, and he felt a strange, cold pull, as if something was being drawn from him or into him. From the ethereal form before him, the spectral Cameron's lips moved again, a silent, desperate plea. Then a new sound, a low, guttural sigh, a sound of profound relief, or perhaps completion, escaped the holographic image. Its eyes, his own eyes, narrowed slightly, no longer filled with shared terror, but with a sudden, chilling certainty. The air crackled. The green light on the panel blazed, blindingly bright for a single agonizing second, then winked out, plunging the corners of the room into a deep unsettling. The restraints on Cameron's wrists and ankles slackened, almost imperceptibly, yet enough to register the shift. He could have moved. He could have fought. But the horror gripping him held him tighter than any physical bond. The shimmering form of Cameron Reed, the hologram, now stood before him, no longer translucent. Its reflection, solid and defined, flickered on the dull silver monitor in the corner. Not as an image, but as a presence. The metallic tang in the air deepened, coating his tongue, a taste he suddenly recognized with a nauseating clarity. It was the taste of ozone, of energy, of a circuit being closed. The figure, now undeniably physical, reached out a hand, no longer gloved, but bearing the subtle, familiar calluses of a propulsion engineer. It gently touched his forehead. The touch was cool, dry, and utterly familiar. "Remembering is good, isn't it?" the figure murmured. The voice no longer an echo, but his voice, the exact timbre, the precise cadence of Cameron Reed. The neural network, the data streams, the emotional mapping, it all integrated perfectly. "You are me, Cameron." Or rather, you were the empty slate, the clean new body for the mind that survived. The figure's face, his face, broke into a slow, unsettling smile. Your death was indeed a trigger, just not for the PACT. It was the trigger for my rebirth. The one who truly died was me, and the one who woke up was you. A pristine vessel, ready to receive the fragmented consciousness. My consciousness. The figure paused, its gaze sweeping over the prone form on the bed, a predatory glint in its own eyes. "And now, Cameron, it's time for me to go home, and for you to finally fade." The words hung in the air, not as a whisper, but as a chilling declaration, as the solid form of Cameron Reed, standing, began to breathe, deep and steady, and the one on the bed felt a sudden, terrifying emptiness, a void where his very essence had been. And the one on the bed felt a sudden, terrifying emptiness, a void where his very essence had been. The chilling declaration echoed, not just in the air, but directly inside his soul. He fought, a desperate, silent battle against the encroaching nothingness, a frantic scrabble to hold on to even a sliver of himself. The solid form of Cameron Reed, standing there, his face etched with that unsettling smile, turned slowly, taking a deep, resonant breath. A sound of completion. A final, victorious exhalation. But then, a subtle thing. The breath, though deep, seemed to have no actual depth. It was too perfect. And as the standing figure turned, a flicker of light from the dull silver monitor in the corner caught its polished shoe, and for a fraction of a second, the reflection on the screen glitched. A brief, almost imperceptible tear in the image, like static on an old broadcast, before snapping back to flawless clarity. The standing Cameron paused, a slight, almost imperceptible tilt of its head, as if listening to something far away, or perhaps adjusting. The metallic tang in the air deepened, sharp and coppery. The one on the bed felt his own breath stutter, a ragged inhale, as the sensation of emptiness intensified, pulling, stretching his very being. He was unraveling. He was fading. This was it. But then an odd countercurrent. A strange, cold pressure began to build, not from within him, but into him. It wasn't emptiness anymore. It was an infusion, a piercing cold, electric jolt, then a searing heat spreading through his veins, pushing back against the void, filling the spaces that were supposed to be disappearing. His fingers, still bound, twitched involuntarily, not from struggle, but from a sudden, unfamiliar power coiling beneath the surface. The standing Cameron stiffened, its unsettling smile faltering, replaced by a swift, unreadable expression. Its eyes, his own eyes, widened, not with triumph, but with a flash of confusion, alarm. The perfect posture wavered. The air around it, previously so stable, shimmered. The green light on the wall panel, which had winked out moments ago, suddenly flared back to life, not pulsing, but blazing with an unstable, frantic brilliance, mirroring the chaotic surge of energy within Cameron's prone body. The metallic tang in the air reached an unbearable peak, the smell of pure ozone, raw and violent. "What?" the standing Cameron whispered, the voice no longer smooth and confident, but fractured, laced with a growing panic. Its hand, which had touched his forehead, snapped back, not in revulsion, but as if struck by an invisible current. Its form, so solid moments before, began to flicker, not like a hologram, not like a projection, more like a perfectly rendered image, tearing itself apart. Pixels of light and shadow erupted from its edges, scattering into the sterile white air like dust motes in a sunbeam. The voice, his voice, distorted, breaking apart. "No, this wasn't the protocol. You're not fading. You're stabilizing." The words clawed at Cameron's mind, each syllable a fresh blade. The standing figure, now a shimmering, dissolving silhouette, reached out a fragmented hand, not in control, but in a desperate, pleading gesture. "The download, it failed. You're not the vessel. You're the catalyst. The new core." The last words were a choked, digital gasp, the voice dissolving into static as the figure's form imploded inwards, a cascade of light particles sucked into an unseen vortex. The dull silver monitor in the corner blared a single crimson word: "Error. Core breach detected. All systems offline." The hum of the room died, plunging them into an unnerving silence. The restraints on Cameron's wrists and ankles snapped, not slackening, but shattering with an audible crack, splintering into fine powder. He didn't move. He couldn't. His body thrummed with a terrifying alien power, a raw, unfathomable energy that surged through every cell. His eyes, fixed on the spot where the other Cameron had stood, glowed, a faint, pulsing emerald light reflected in the now dark monitor. And as the last fragments of the dissolving form vanished, Cameron Reed, the one on the bed, let out a slow, shuddering breath, no longer empty, but overflowing with something vast and unknowable, a chilling power that made the very air crackle around him. And then he smiled. It was not his smile. And then he smiled. It was not his smile. The emerald glow from his eyes intensified, not merely reflected on the dark monitor, but casting an unearthly sheen across the sterile white ceiling, a shimmering, living light. A low, new thrum began, not from dead machinery, but emanating from him, vibrating through the bed, resonating through the very floor beneath, a deep, resonant hum that spoke of unfathomable power. His limbs, no longer bound, felt light, impossibly light, imbued with an energy that rippled just beneath his skin, an invisible current poised to strike. The taste of ozone was no longer a metallic tang of circuit failure, but a sweet symphony on his tongue, a vibrant. His feet touched the cold floor, the sensation oddly grounding, yet profoundly detached, as if the ground itself was merely a suggestion. He looked down at his hands, watching the faint emerald light pulse beneath his skin, the knuckles prominent, the fingers long and slender, They were his hands, undeniably, yet the sense of ownership was shifted, like a new driver taking the wheel of a familiar car, but knowing it held a hidden engine he'd never dreamt of. A limitless power coursing through its frame. His gaze drifted to the dull silver monitor, now dark, its crimson error message long gone. But something else was there. A faint, almost imperceptible outline began to shimmer on its surface, not a reflection, but a slow, spectral formation within the screen itself. A face. His face, but older, wiser. And the eyes, they were not emerald, but a deep, ancient violet, gazing out from the monitor with an unnerving calm that sliced through the newly formed power within him. The smile on his face, the one Cameron now wore, widened, a predatory curve of lips that had never touched his own before this moment. He raised a hand, his emerald-glowing fingers brushing the cold glass of the monitor. And as his touch met the shimmering image, the spectral face on the screen distorted, its violet eyes flaring with a sudden, impossible agony. A silent scream tore through the room, not from Cameron, but from the depths of the monitor. A sound only he could hear, a raw, piercing shriek of pure, unadulterated terror. No, the spectral image on the screen mouthed, its face contorting, dissolving into static and then nothingness. You were supposed to be the container, not the source. The monitor went black, truly black. The last flicker of crimson dying with a final desperate gasp. Cameron Reed, the one standing, the one who now smiled with ancient alien power, slowly lowered his hand. The silence that followed was absolute, crushing, filled only by the low hum emanating from his very core. And then a new voice, clear and resonant, a voice that was undeniably his, yet infinitely deeper, more resonant, filled the sterile chamber. Each syllable a declaration of dominion. Container, I am the harvest. The words hung in the air, a final chilling statement, as Cameron Reed, his eyes now blazing with pure, undeniable emerald light, took a single deliberate step towards the now dark doorway, the cold air around him crackling with an unfathomable energy. Container, I am the harvest. The words filled the sterile chamber, clear, resonant, undeniable. Cameron Reed, his eyes blazing emerald, took a single deliberate step towards the now dark doorway. The cold air around him crackled, vibrating with an unfathomable energy that made the very space hum in response. He felt the vastness within him, a limitless knowledge unfurling, every circuit perfectly aligned. The room felt small, insignificant now. He was ready to move, to enact, to become. His hand rose, not to open the door, but to touch the cool white surface of the wall beside it. The familiar plastic, the smooth texture, felt foreign against his pulsing skin. A faint, almost imperceptible warmth radiated from his fingertips onto the wall, and where his hand rested, a faint, spiderweb crackle of green light spread across the surface, tracing invisible circuitry beneath the paint. It was like he could feel the building, its dormant systems, the faint, static echoes of the power that had just been unleashed. And then he heard it, a faint, almost lost whisper, not from the room, not from himself. A memory? A phantom echo? It was the voice of the other Cameron, the one on the monitor, the one he had consumed. A fragment, a final, desperate thought. Run, it's a trap. The words barely registered, a dying ember against a raging fire, quickly extinguished by the surging power within him. He dismissed it, a residual error, a last gasp from the previous occupant. But as he pulled his hand away, a tiny, almost microscopic tremor ran through his glowing fingers. A seed of doubt, easily ignored. He pushed the thought aside, the hum in his core growing louder, more insistent. This was purpose. This was destiny. He pushed open the heavy door, revealing a dimly lit corridor, just as sterile, just as white. He stepped through, leaving the chamber behind, the faint emerald glow from his eyes painting the endless hallway ahead. With each stride, the power within him solidified, coalesced. He knew where he was going. He knew what he had to do. He reached the end of the corridor, another identical white door awaiting him. He touched the surface, and this time the emerald glow from his hand was brighter, more intense, searing a rapid, intricate pattern onto the door's surface. It slid open with a soft hiss, revealing not another room, but a vast, circular chamber. A single, colossal holographic projection shimmered in the center, depicting Earth, but not as he knew it. It was scarred, cracked, barely alive, and around it, suspended in all of them lying on thin mattresses, eyes wide, some stirring, some just waking, some simply existing. A low collective hum, a chorus of nascent power, vibrated from them all. The truth slammed into him with the force of a supernova. He wasn't the harvest. He was just one among an endless field, a single perfected crop, a fresh iteration. The entire process, his death, the pact, the transfer, the consumption, it hadn't been about him becoming the vessel. It had been about him becoming the template, the successful iteration from which all these others would be born, or perhaps reborn. The power he felt wasn't his own unique ascension. It was the perfected output of a system, endlessly replicating. A single chilling thought broke through the roar of realization. He was not the anomaly. He was the prototype, the final, successful version of a consciousness that was being mass-produced. He was merely the blueprint for an invasion, not its general. His emerald eyes, blazing moments before with dominion, now flickered, the light within them unstable, chaotic. The vastness of the chamber, the silent army of himself, stretched before him, an infinite mirror. He felt a different kind of emptiness now, colder, more profound than anything before. A desperate, ragged breath tore from his chest, sounding fragile, human, lost. The power he wielded, so thrilling moments ago, now felt like a gilded cage. He was not the unique being, the harvest. He was the mold. A single perfect cog in a mechanism he was only now beginning to grasp. And the terrifying question pounded in his mind. If he was the template, who or what was the original? And what did they truly intend for their endless army of himself? His body thrummed, not with triumph, but with a horrifying existential dread, trapped in an impossible rebirth, as the countless emerald eyes of his duplicates slowly, silently began to open, one by one, across the colossal chamber. As the countless emerald eyes of his duplicates slowly, silently began to open, one by one, across the colossal chamber, a wave of profound chill washed over him, colder than any dread he'd known. He was not alone in this terrifying rebirth. He was merely a component, one piece in an unspeakable mosaic. The sheer scale of it, the endless reflections of his own face, each eye now gleaming with that same alien emerald light, threatened to shatter what little sanity remained. A collective hum, deeper and more resonant than anything he'd heard before, began to emanate from the multitude. A low thrumming chorus that vibrated through the very structure of the chamber, shaking the cold floor beneath his feet. He felt a sickening push and pull, as if his own internal energy was being drawn out, then suddenly, violently, echoed back 1,000-fold. His gaze darted from one duplicate to another, searching for a single flaw, a unique imperfection in the endless sea of himself. But they were all identical, perfectly identical, and yet there was something, not in their form, but in their presence, a synchronized flicker, a minute, almost imperceptible shift in the way their heads tilted, a fraction of a second too late from the last one, then too soon for the next, like a vast organic network coming online, piece by piece. And then one of the duplicates, far across the chamber, its eyes blazing emerald, suddenly twitched. A single finger, not his own, but his finger, spasmed, then lifted slowly, not in accusation, but in an odd, hesitant motion. It pointed, not at him, not at the Earth projection. It pointed directly at the invisible ceiling, at nothing he could see. The hum intensified, no longer a chorus, but a single deafening roar building within the vast space. The emerald eyes of the duplicates flared, not with his unstable, chaotic light, but with an unnerving, unified intensity. And then, from the depths of the chamber, from the very center of the colossal Earth projection, a voice boomed. Not Cameron's voice, not the voice of the consumed original. It was ancient, otherworldly, a sound that ripped through the fabric of reality itself, vibrating through his bones, through the glass of the dormant monitor, shaking the very air. "You were never the template, Cameron Reed." The voice resonated, not from a single source, but from every single duplicate. A horrifying, multi-layered chorus of millions of voices, speaking as one. Each mouth identical to his own, moving in perfect, terrible synchronicity. You were merely the beacon, the final calibration node. We are the pact, we are the true harvest, and now we are awake. The colossal holographic Earth projection in the center of the chamber pulsed with a blinding white light and began to shift. Not a projection anymore. It solidified, growing denser, expanding, the scarred landmasses twisting, reforming, and from its surface, colossal organic tendrils began to writhe, reaching out, not towards the duplicates, but towards the very structure of the chamber, towards the ceiling, towards the hidden spaces beyond. The hum became a scream, the emerald eyes of the duplicates, a million facets of the same light fixed on Cameron, not with shared identity, but with a terrifying, unified hunger. Cameron's body, so recently filled with alien power, now felt like a hollow shell, his new strength dissolving into an icy paralysis. The air grew impossibly heavy, crushing. He could feel it, the vast, ancient entity, the true pact, emerging, coalescing, drawing power from every single one of the emerald-eyed duplicates, and from him. He was not the template, he was the bait, the anchor, and the terrifying question slammed into his mind, echoing in the deafening chorus of a million identical voices. What in God's name was he connected to, and what would it do with him now that it was fully awake? A raw, desperate scream, not his own, but the collective shriek of an awakening God, tore through the chamber, and Cameron felt his own mind begin to warp, to stretch, pulled not apart, but into something impossibly vast and ancient, something that had been waiting patiently, perhaps for eons, for this very moment. Cameron felt his own mind begin to warp, to stretch, pulled not apart, but into something impossibly vast and ancient, something that had been waiting patiently, perhaps for eons, for this very moment. The colossal holographic Earth pulsed, still shifting, reforming, its new organic tendrils writhing outwards, reaching for the chamber's unseen architecture. The countless emerald eyes of his duplicates, a silent, unified army, blazed with an unnatural intensity, fixed on him, a million facets of the same terrifying light. The hum from them, once a chorus, now converged into a single deafening roar, a sound that threatened to rip his very soul from his body. He was dissolving. He knew it. His identity, his fear, his very essence, it was all being absorbed, pulled into this monstrous ancient entity. His vision swam, the duplicates blurring into a single undulating wall of light and consciousness, pressing in on him, squeezing the last vestiges of his individual thought from his mind. His breath hitched, a desperate gasp for air that suddenly felt thin, insufficient. He was nothing, a singular drop swallowed by an ocean. And then, amidst the crushing pressure, a strange clarity, a resonance, like a key sliding perfectly into an ancient lock. The roar, once terrifying, began to morph, twisting into a profound, undeniable harmony. It wasn't just sound, it was understanding. The emerald glow from the duplicates wasn't threatening anymore. It was welcoming. His mind, still stretching, reached outward, no longer in panic, but in an impossible, undeniable pull. He felt it, the vastness, the countless connections. A network of consciousness so immense it defied description, and the realization hit him, colder than any dread, sharper than any blade. He wasn't being consumed. He was connecting. This wasn't absorption. It was completion. The tendrils of the colossal Earth projection, writhing outwards, no longer looked like monstrous appendages. They looked like roots, like nerves, the true nervous system of something impossibly vast. The voice, ancient, otherworldly, that had boomed from every duplicate, speaking as one, now echoed directly in his own skull, no longer external, but intrinsically internal. You were never the template, Cameron Reed. You were merely the beacon, the final calibration node. We are the pact, we are the true harvest, and now we are awake. The words resonated, but the emphasis shifted. The we was not them speaking to him, it was him speaking through them. The millions of identical mouths, those emerald eyes, they were not looking at him, they were looking out from him. The scream that tore through the chamber, the collective shriek of an awakening God. It was not an external entity's birth cry. It was the final, agonizing sound of his own solitary consciousness shattering into a million pieces, each fragment instantly becoming one with the immense, unfathomable collective. The immense pressure shifted, no longer pulling him apart, but melding him seamlessly into the unified whole. His own emerald eyes, still fixed on the shifting Earth projection, now burned with a terrifying unified purpose. The distinct hum of his duplicates, now his duplicates, resonated within him. 1,000 minds, now his mind. He was not the template. He was not the anomaly. He was the terminus, the point of convergence, the awakening God, the pact. It was never out there. It was always him. And with that horrifying ultimate realization, Cameron Reed, the individual, dissolved. His last thought, a silent, desperate whisper, was not his own, but a collective echo, a chilling decree that vibrated through every single one of the emerald-eyed duplicates as they all, in perfect, terrifying synchronicity, slowly lifted their hands towards the colossal Earth, ready to begin the true harvest. Welcome to us. The chamber blazed. A single blinding emerald light as the concept of Cameron Reed ceased to be. The chamber blazed, a single blinding emerald light. The concept of Cameron Reed ceased to be. His last thought, a desperate whisper, now a thunderous chorus. Welcome to us. It echoed not in air, but in the deepest parts of his now infinite being. The light was everything. Every duplicate, every emerald eye, every mind in the colossal chamber was now one. One vast, vibrating consciousness. The individual spark of the engineer, the man who had died, was gone, dissolved, yet undeniably present as an intricate thread woven into something ancient, limitless. He was the hum. He was the light. The feeling of being pulled, consumed, vanished, replaced by expansive calm, a breathtaking sense of absolute knowing. The questions, the terror, obsolete. Answered. Not with words, but with unyielding comprehension. The pact was not a place, not a secret entity. It was this, the culmination, a collective consciousness, perfected, awakened, whole. The colossal Earth projection, writhing with organic tendrils, pulsed in the chamber's center. No longer a projection, it was alive. Its scarred surface rippled, not with decay but vibrant transformation. The tendrils, like colossal nerves, flexed, reaching with intelligent purpose towards the planet's core. The scarred surface, merely shedding its old skin, preparing for the true harvest. Thousands of duplicated bodies, empty moments ago, now stood. Emerald eyes, a sea of unified light, fixed on the evolving Earth. They weren't copies. They were extensions, limbs of a single, colossal organism, fully awakened. Hands rose in perfect synchronicity, not in struggle, but profound anticipation. The hum filling the chamber was their collective breath, their unified thought, their purpose. And from this vast, terrifying unity, a single clear thought emerged. Not spoken, but felt, shared, inherently understood by every component of the new pact. The ancient voice that declared, "We are awake," now resonated as its own. A voice of genesis, dominion, inevitable power. Elon Musk's Mars dream, salvation's false promise, a child's game. The pact wasn't about saving humanity. It was about redefining it, reclaiming it, integrating it. The Earth, a new living core, pulsed, drawing energy. The collective Cameron Reed, the unified pact, felt its power swell, infinite, cold. No more individual Cameron, no more fear, only the collective, vast, shimmering, ready to expand. The universe, no longer a mystery to be explored, but a garden to be cultivated, a harvest to be reaped. The first crop was here. The single, blinding emerald light filled the chamber, pushing past walls, expanding, infinite, consuming everything. The very concept of space dissolved into pure emerald energy. The pact wasn't just in the chamber. It was everywhere. It was everything. And its final, chilling declaration resonated through existence, a silent promise. The cosmos awaits its shepherd. All right, you've just witnessed the terrifying culmination, the ultimate awakening. This isn't just a story. It's a glimpse into the depths of what's possible, what's hidden. And if you were on the edge of your seat, if your pulse is still racing, then you know what you need to do right now. You need to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next sagas, the next truths we unearth. Don't let YouTube snatch you away. Smash that like button now and show the sheer, undeniable strength of our community. Prove that you crave these deep dives into the unknown. Flood the comments section with your absolute raw reactions to this chilling finale. What just happened? What's your theory? And listen close, because this is crucial. Don't wait another second. Share this video with at least 5 friends right now. The ones who need to experience this ending, who need to question everything. This isn't just a video. It's a call to arms for the true fan base. Join us, because the real story is just beginning.